Good to see. दामले मॅडम साधारण किती वेळात आपण सुरू करूयात?
1-2 मिनिटं थांबूया.
हो.
ओके. Bhandari sir, I think it is right time to start.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Sagar sir, with your due permission, we would like to begin with session.
Sure.
Yeah. Very good afternoon to one and all. Welcome everyone after post-lunch session. I would just like to introduce a very passionate speaker for this session, Mr. Sagar Shukre. He's a passionate marketer who firmly believes in the art of marketing and the science of entrepreneurship. In his transition from around 17-year career in pharmaceutical marketing to becoming a health entrepreneur has enabled him to combine his marketing expertise with an entrepreneurial drive. This synergy has empowered him to create innovative preventive therapy solutions aimed at improving people's lives and overall health. So we all are working in post-disease or disorder area, but he is believing in preventive measures. So fueled by his passion, Mr. Shukre, along with his partner, Ms. Pallavi, they have founded Kenaf Healthcare. KENAF, KNAF Healthcare, a cutting-edge nutraceutical company. KNAF Healthcare is at the forefront of developing a range of innovative products, notably mouth-dissolving films designed to improve adherence and accessibility. Notably, they have introduced India's first green tea dissolving films. And believe me, I have tested this product and it was awesome, wonderful, and a very creative and innovative. Having looked at the product packaging only, I was surprised की असं पण काहीतरी होऊ शकतो. Before embarking on his entrepreneurial journey, Mr. Shukre held a senior position as AGM marketing, overseeing a portfolio worth 350 CRs within top pharmaceutical companies. Among his peers, he is widely recognized as a driving force behind Uprise 3D. We all must be knowing this vitamin D3 product, leader in vitamin D market. Under his leadership, the Indian vitamin D market was valued at mere 42 CRs prior to the launch of Uprise D3, which grew substantially to 800 crores. So this is merely around 20-fold increase in market capital. In recognition of this successful launch, Mr. Sagar has received industry awards for the best launch, and that too twice, and an internal Alchem awards for seven times. So apart from being a health trainer, he is a curious digital creator as well as a passionate speaker who has been invited as a guest speaker at various forums. So we are really glad to have you with us. Over to you, Mr. Sagar, and all the very best for all the learners. Hopefully, we would learn a lot from his a young dynamic speaker. Thank you, Mr. Sagar. Please. What do
Thank you. Really, thank you, Bhandari sir, for such a warm welcome. And it feels like homecoming for me. The way you have introduced me, I just remembered my old pharmacy days, and now being a passionate marketeer to a passionate entrepreneur. I would not call entrepreneur healthpreneur. So that's what been there. So really, thank you for this. And I'm sure. All the audiences who are there are also curious to know more about entrepreneurship, because after Shark Tank coming, the entrepreneurs, the world has really changed, and most people really dream now that yes, entrepreneurship is really true, and it is possible. So with this, let me, without wasting any further time, let me start and let me take through the presentation. So I hope the screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, great. So it's a big responsibility thrown on me by Bhandari sir and the entire team, because we all know that post lunch is always a graveyard session for any speaker. But I know that I'll be up to the expectation to ensure that you guys are, really dreaming positively without without going to sleep or anything, because this session is really going to be a thoughtful session, insightful session, and an inspirational session for every individual who, dream to be an entrepreneur, or who aspire to become an entrepreneur. But entrepreneur, by just saying you cannot become an entrepreneur, you really need to have a proper roadmap, that why, what, when, and who is what we need to have. And that's the reason this session is all about idea to enterprise, a roadmap to a successful healthpreneurship. So, I'm sure before I move on to the next slide, let me ask questions to all the audiences. Someone of you or your family members must have dreamt about becoming entrepreneur some point in their life, anytime, or maybe in future you will think of, right? So this this passion should be there, this ignition should be there in every individual. But let me tell you, I'm sure you all are doing SIPs, mutual funds. We do SIPs and mutual funds to scale up our earnings, to double up our earnings. But before signing on to SIPs and mutual fund, there is a word of caution always mentioned that, subject to market risk. You need to read the offer document very carefully before signing to SIPs and mutual fund. Now, why this caution is mentioned? Because you never know when you can see a downfall. So similarly, my dear friends, entrepreneurship or healthpreneurship definitely will have obstacles, will have challenges, will have downfalls. But just look at the bright light shining ahead, which shows that there is tremendous opportunity, innumerous opportunity of growth, of success, of credibility lying in front of each one of us when you become a successful entrepreneur. So that's the reason in obstacles and downfalls or hurdles is a part and parcel of our life. So don't be, on a back foot when you say that, oh my God, if this happens, what am I going to do? Needless to say, the bright shining light is there, that the success and the happiness that you will get when you will have your own entrepreneurship is way beyond this hurdles and obstacles. So with this positive note, let us embark on this journey of a successful healthpreneurship. There's always a golden rule to say that the only stable component in nature is change. And what best example we can see when we see in COVID? COVID has shown us that everything changed, but we were stable also. So that's the reason, my dear friends, the golden rule for any healthpreneurship is you should have adaptability, you should have flexibility in your strategies. At the same time, you should be positive enough to take a change. If you are adamant, if you feel, no, this is not possible, then my dear friends, you have to think over, are you in a right frame of mind? So with this positive note, I'm starting that anything in business, you need to be flexible, you need to have adaptability to the given situation. Whenever we want to start a business, what do? The first thing which cracks our mind is, let's talk to consumers. Let's see what they want. But I defy this. There's a famous saying that you should not talk to the consumers for what they want. And the founder of Sony himself, he said that if you ask to public what they want or what they need, you will always be behind the world. You will never be on top of the world. So if you want to be on top of the world, try to address their problems. Try to give solution to their problems. Don't try to ask the customer what they want. And I'm sure Sony is an ideal example for this, because in 1st of July 1979, there was a revolution which happened. Any guesses what was that revolution? Well, before 1979, the world used to listen to transmissions to radios only by sitting at the home. But after 1979, Sony pioneered the launch of Walkman series, the portable Walkman series, which allowed the consumers to go and listen to the music wherever they want. And till date, Sony is on top of this because they always thought one step ahead of the consumers. So my dear friends, don't ask the consumers what they want. Give a solution to the problem statement, which a consumer will never tell you what is the problem statement. You have to identify what is the problem statement to give a solution to that problem statement. I hope these 2 points are very clear, because these are the golden rules before I start with the roadmap of how to set up an entrepreneurship journey or an entrepreneurial journey. So the content, if I would say, there is a big list of content The roadmap is clearly visible. You need to have an idea generation. You need to have a market research, planning, regulatory compliance is always there, because be it India or be it a globe, the regulatory compliances should be followed. And it is always good to follow these compliances. And funding, very, very crucial, because without funds, you cannot start anything. Marketing and sales, product development, operations and logistics, networking, and exit strategy. Well, exit strategy, if you look at it, it's not right. You should not feel कि before starting a business, why am I showing you an exit strategy? No, friends. Exit strategy is a different than what you are thinking. When I move ahead, I'll surely tell you what is this exit strategy all about. So let me take you through this first point of idea generation. When I talk about idea generation, what do you think? Where will we get this idea? So before getting the idea, you need to have a foundation for that idea. Foundation is very, very important. And that's the reason to lay this foundation. How can you lay a foundation for business generation? To lay this foundation, I'll tell you a simple mantra. Please follow your passion. Research have shown that those who follow passion, 90% of those businesses have succeeded. So that's the reason, my dear friends, please follow your passion. To give you a simple example, in from our own industry, the example is of Cipla. You would say Dr. Yusuf Hamid. He was a passionate Indian scientist, but more importantly, he was passionate to sell his drugs to save the life of the people, not just the one who are richest, also the ones who can't afford medicines. Many times he has given the medicines for free to ensure that the treatment is reaching to the people and saving their lives. And because of this, he was the only person who walked against the tide, be it his anti-AIDS treatment or be it his asthma treatment. He started small, but we know where is Cipla standing today. It is one of the global pharma giants. So be passionate of what you do in whichever industry you are. Passion is something which will keep you ignited as an entrepreneur. And you have to have this passion amongst you to have this entrepreneurial spirit. Now, how do you find your passion? So, self-assessment is the best tool. You need to start asking yourself, what are my skills? What are my interests? What are my passions? At the same time, you need to consider your expertise based on the industry that we are into. SWOT analysis is also very, very crucial. When I talk about SWOT, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the opportunities that I have based on the skill set which I carry? And what are the threats if I enter, I'll be occurring or those will be incurring in my lives? So SWOT analysis really helps you to give not just your strength and weakness, but also show you the opportunity which is lying in front of you to grow or to scale up your business, which is very crucial. So foundation is always the first step, be it your home, be it your office, or be it your business. You need to lay a foundation, a strong foundation. Moving on to technique. Now, from where are we going to get these ideas from? I understood my skill set, I understood my passion, but where in this world am I going to get the ideas from? So here are few techniques which really helped me to set up my entrepreneurial journey, which I'm sharing it to you. First is mind mapping. Mind mapping, which we all know, create a diagram in our mind to see what kind of business do I want to enter into, how that business is going to be. Well, brainstorming is also really helpful if you discuss with your peers, with your friends, with your colleagues that I want to do something. But please make sure this brainstorming does not involve any kind of criticism or just quantity over quality. If you want a good idea generation, make sure the circle which you are into, the friends which you are talking are really, in a positive moving, helping you to create a positive energy rather than a negative energy. Now, moving on to the third one is another common thing, identify a solution to a problem of a consumer. We all know a famous आजकल क्या चल रहा है like. My dear friends, आजकल तो फॉग चल रहा है. But anybody knows the fog story? Mr. Darpan Patel, the owner of Vimy Cosmetics, a simple man, just sitting idle in his room, decided to launch and enter into a fragrance and a perfume industry, which was highly cluttered in 2011. The industry, which was dominated by global giants, Axe, and several other players, were there. In that industry, Mr. Darpan Patel decided to enter. Now, the industry was cluttered like our pharma industry is always cluttered. But still, he is able to dominate that market today also. And he is the number one in this industry. Why? Because he identified a problem and gave a solution to the consumers. The problem was those time, most of the deodorants or perfumes were made up of aerosols. They had gas into it. And the deos was not staying for a longer period of time. So what he did was, bina gas wala perfume. He marketed it such a way, saying that it's a bina gas wala perfume. You can use it for a longer duration of time because it is made up of water which stays in your body for a longer duration of time. At the same time, it also ensured or gave a communication telling that you need not spray several sprays throughout the day. Just 2 to 3 actuations in a day is more than enough. So the longevity increased of the perfume. So those who were using deodorants and perfume for 15-20 days now started using it for 40 days. By just addressing a simple problem solution, he was able to scale up and now a multi-billionaire in this industry. So identify a problem, give a solution to it. Reverse engineering, another very common technique, which usually several industry giants are also utilizing it. Take a product, do a reverse calculation, check what all ingredients have been added to it, add some of the new ingredient and relaunch it, giving it a new flavor altogether, a new variance altogether, and giving you a USP for marketing that product. And that's what reverse engineering is all about. Several companies have applied this technique also for launching new products. And lastly, analogous inspiration, which really helped me to launch Kenaf Healthcare. Now, what is this analogous inspiration? If I talk about, it's about taking ideas from a different industry and adapting that idea to your industry. Sounds different, right? And really sounds क्या बोल रहा है kind of thing. So my dear friends, let me give you an example. FMCG industry, mouth dissolving films in the terms of mouth fresheners have started picking up. In pharma industry, the mouth dissolving film is a very niche market. We are largely dependent on tablets and oral syrups and other formulations. But the oral disintegrating strips, we are hardly using it. So the pharma gave me the idea of oral disintegrating strips. FMCG gave me the idea of scaling up my business through nutraceuticals by trying and bridging the gap of pharma and healthcare and FMCG. I launched Kenaf Healthcare, a very, very unique mouth dissolving formulations, instant dissolving formulation into a nutraceutical category. So that's an analogous inspiration example, which I would like to quote here. So I hope these techniques are pretty clear to you, very simple to understand. You can identify any of this to generate a business idea. So this is only about generating a business idea. Now that you have identified, you have laid the foundation, you have identified that this is the business or this is the idea, the service or the product that I want to venture into. Then the next comes, which is very crucial, called as market research. Now, all you guys sitting over here would think, यार इसके लिए तो बहुत पैसा लगेगा. Like this is really cumbersome and this is only the big giants can do it. So let me tell you, there are two types of market research which we all generally do. The first is primary research and the second is secondary research. Well, primary research largely consists of surveys, polls, interviews, focus groups, observations, which I'm sure you must have also come across when you go to malls or several mails start flooding in your mailboxes or social medias to, give a survey, give a poll, or take an interview. This is nothing but a primary research, which most of the giants like HUL and other industry colleagues do. Even in pharma also, people do primary research. But let me break this myth out of you. It's not only the big giants who can do primary research. Even you, a startup, a healthpreneur, an entrepreneur who aspires to be entrepreneur, is mandatory to have a primary research. Because without research, you cannot enter into any business. So, my dear friends, primary research is very, very crucial, and you can do it at very economical cost or even at zero cost. Let me tell you how. To go to take surveys, to have polls, to do interviews, to have a focus group, you don't need to invest your money. You just need to invest your time, and you need to invest the passion which you carry for your product. You yourself can go to your peers, to your field, and talk to the consumers what kind of services you are expecting out of them. You can interview one on one. You can have a survey and poll. The only difference is there would be 1,000 people, here would be 10, 20, 50, 100 people. But my dear friend, for a startup, this 10, 50, 100 people will make much difference than spending huge money on the big research, primary research, which the big organizations do. So I hope you guys are pretty clear that primary research is crucial, but you don't need to break this barrier that I need to invest money. You just need to invest your time and the passion to have a primary research. At the same time, secondary research, yes, you can. It is equally important to have a secondary research, literature research, case studies, go through as much of literature as you can to go to a firm decision that yes, this is the business idea that I am entering into is going to be scalable, profitable, and helping me and my family in a longer run. Now, when I talk about primary and secondary research, I cannot stay away without talking competitor analysis. My dear friends, if your primary research and secondary research is perfect, but you have not done your competitor analysis, then you are not able to scale to the initial tides, the big waves that you will be getting. Because the sea inside the ocean is very calm, but near the shore it has huge waves and tides coming. To go through these waves and tides, you need to have your competitor analysis done very, very carefully. And to do that, there is a simple thing. Identify your potential customer, see what they are doing right, see where they are falling short. I'm sure everyone has some weaknesses. Your competitor too would be having some weaknesses. You need to see where are they falling short. And when you know what they are doing right and where are they falling short, well, this is the gap which you can fill it and identify your USP to market your or promote your service or product. A simple example here is our well-known brand, BOAT, Boat. What Boat has done? Well, when Boat launched its headphone, initially the market was heavily cluttered. No doubt, the market was cluttered and Indian market will remain cluttered. But in spite of this cluttery market, they identified it that yes, JBL, Sony, and other big players are really giving a right quality. But the price is very, very not competitive. At the same time, they are only present in the tier 1 and metro cities. What about rural market? What about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns? And that's the reason Boat identified this gap And what boAt did? They launched their first wireless neck bands. And where? Not in Mumbai, not in Pune. It was available in the rural parts. It moved on from the rural tier 1, tier 2, and now even the metros everywhere they are available, and slowly, gradually they are expanding, they are scaling their businesses. So that's the reason, my dear friends, let me tell you, competitor analysis is important. But you guys are not from marketing. You guys will say, sir, ye hum log kahan se leke aaye? From where can we have this competitor analysis? So let me help you with a small, a framework, which is a 7 P's of marketing mix. If you identify these 7 P's and you bridge them with your competitor, you will be able to have a good competitor analysis. It is nothing but what product are you offering, at what price are you giving, which place are you planning to promote your product, how do you plan to promote your product, what are the people who would be involved in this, how the packaging is going to look, and what is the process or the strategy through which I am going to scale up my business. For you, for your competitor 1, and for your competitor 2. Just by doing this, you will be able to know what are your USPs when you decide to launch your own business. So let me give you a health tip now. We have laid a foundation. We have seen how the businesses how the idea generation need to happen, why the market research is important. A small tip from my side, which is applicable even in your personal life, not just in your entrepreneurial journey, but start small, but think big. A simple example, my dear friends, a transporter who owns a small Tata Nano or a 407, 407, which we commonly say. If he thinks that I am happy with this, then probably throughout the lifetime he'll be driving that 407 only. But if he thinks big, he will have a big car, a GPS tracker, a big truck. He'll have almost 100 trucks standing. This is happens when we think big. In our own industry, if you plan to launch, a retail shop, don't just stay with a retail stock. Have a chain of retail stock, or move to distributorship. From a distributorship, move to a manufacturing unit. That's what Alchem also did, right? Alchem started off with a small retailer that didn't work off way to a distributor, from a distributor to a third party marketeer, from a marketeer they had its own manufacturing unit, and today Alchem is standing amongst the top 5 players of Indian pharma market. So you start small, but you need to have your thought big. That was one health tip from me. Now, before we move on, to the subsequent slides, business planning is crucial. When I talk about business planning, what do you see? We all are very familiar with orbits. We all have been into atoms, molecules. We know the atomic weight and everything, right? So that's the reason I took this example of orbits, which we are very familiar with. The inner is the core always, and the inner core is always pointed up, with vision, mission, and core values. I'm not telling that today when you think about, you should have your vision, mission, and core values clear. No, you can have it subsequently after 6 months, after 7 months, after 1 year also. But you need to ensure that your vision, mission, and core values are intact, because they are the one who are going to drive the people who will be onboarding your journey in the future, who will be coming and joining your organization or your company or your firm or your venture. So vision, mission, and core values are very critical. That's the reason they are in the center of it. But just vision, mission, core values won't work. That's the reason you need to have your goals. What is my short-term goal? What is my long-term goal? What are the finances that I'm looking for to start up my business? What is the strategy that I'm going to have? And more importantly, what is the value that I'm going to carry at my home when I move? right? So ROI is also equally important. Sorry. Okay. Just apologies for this. Let me have a full screen. Okay. Bhandari sir, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, great. Thank you. Right. So ROI is also equally important. Now, to allow you not to, to allow you not to, confuse with lot of models, I have come up with a simplified business model, which is a one screen ready reckoner for you. Now, when I talk about this, what is this? Well, let me explain you this. This is a very, very simplified model. You can take a screenshot of this also, which will allow you to refer when you plan to have your own entrepreneurial journey. Is the screen sharing paused?
So we are on the business planning slide. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right. So if you can remove the side panel, maybe better, but otherwise it's visible.
It's visible, right?
Yes.
Which side panel? I've already removed it, I guess.
We can
Sir,
see your screen properly.
yes, sir, it can be viewed.
Okay. Okay. So now, talking about the business model, the first step in this is a problem fit. You need to check the three problems which your customer or your client faces right now, which you must have identified it in the initial stages, which I have discussed. So these are the three top problems you need to list here. Now, once you have the three problems listed, you need to see what are the existing solutions to this problem statement which a client has. So those solutions can be, any other firm which is giving that solution to the client. It could be that. Now, when you identified the problem fit and the existing solution, you need to check what solution you are going to provide to the client, because that is where your USP is going to come. What solution you provide to the client against the each problem which he has mentioned. And to fulfill that solution, what are the KPIs that you have? KPIs means key performance indicators. So what are the key performance indicators that you are going to keep to ensure that these solutions or these problems are being monitored regularly to generate results or to scale up your business? Now, when you have filled this four quadrant, you need to check the target customer who you are looking for, or who will be the potential customer for your product or your services. And from there, you need to move on to the early initiators. Now, what is this early initiators? They are the one who would be starting your product first. What are the behaviors that you are expecting from that particular early initiator? You need to jot down here. When you know your customers, you will be knowing who is my early initiator also. And then what are the unique selling propositions that your product or service offer, which others don't offer? And to communicate that, what is the concept you are using to communicate that benefits to your customer or to your client? What are the A plus advantages which your product or services carry, which others don't, which gives you an edge over your competitor, is what is the A plus advantage. And last but not the least, what is the path that you want to follow so that you reach to the target audiences. This is a very, very simplified business model in one page ready reckoner, which you can actually adopt it in your businesses also. But don't just write these 10 boxes which I've mentioned here. It is equally important to see the bottom two boxes, the finances and the profit or loss, because end of the day, we are running business to give finance to our family, to give finance to ourselves, to give independentability. So profit and loss is very, very important. No business is successful if you're not giving any profits, or if that business is not generating any profits. So that's the reason finance and profit and loss is equally important. You need to check what are your fixed cost expenses, what are your variable expenses. You need to note it down there. And then at the bottom, you need to check what is the revenue which I'm going to generate and which platform is going to give me which revenue. For example, I decide to go online. So when I talk about online, what is my percentage of contribution going to be there from online promotion, from Amazon, from Flipkart, from Meesho, from
Sir,
JioMart, through DMart? What are the avenues that I'm going to
Shukri
get?
sir. So,
Yeah,
Shukri sir, just to interrupt you, sorry. Are we still on the business planning slide?
yeah.
All right, all right. So sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Just hold on. Huh? Okay. Okay, sorry. We are on the business model simplified slide.
Yeah, it was not moving then.
Oh, that's what I said. Ki, is the screen paused or stopped? Because I saw that the screen is paused. That's the reason I was okay. Anyways, what I'll do is I'll explain this slide because this slide is very, very important. So I'll explain this slide once again. I just said the business planning model where ROI was equally important, right? So inner orbit was vision, mission, and core values, and the outer orbit is your goals, your finances, your strategies, and your ROI. Just to simplify this process, I have created this business model, which will be a one page ready reckoner for you, where on the top quadrant, you can see a problem fit. So when I talk about a problem fit, you need to mention your three problems, the top three problems which your consumer come across. Now, to this top three problems, what are the existing solutions which your other clients are trying to give to your consumers? You need to note down in the second quadrant. Again, now, if there is a problem and there is an existing solution, what is the solution that your product or your service is offering against the problem which client has said? You need to mention it. You need to note down that also. Now to this solution, what are the key performance indicators that you are targeting or which you want is what you will be putting it here. Key performance metrics are important because it will help you to see whether you are going in a right direction or whether you have gone somewhere misdirected. So that's the reason key performance indicators should be there right next to the solution which your product or service is offering against the problem stated. Now, when you have this four quadrants filled, you just need to mention what is the target customer where I want to take my product to. And more importantly, who will be the first consumer or what type of behavior the first consumer will carry when he's taking or buying my product or service. That means he should be your early initiator. So these things, when you note it down, you will have a clear picture of what are the USPs that I am going to offer as a manufacturer or as a service provider to my client or consumers or in certain case, it might be doctors also. At the same time, what are the concept? Concept means what is the communication which I am going to give to ensure that my client knows the USP of my product. USP means unique selling proposition. What are the A plus advantages that my product offers over the competitor is what I need to note it down. Because end of the day, without marketing, I'll not be able to generate revenues against, even if I have a good product, but without communication, without marketing, it won't be giving me a sustainable result. And lastly, what is the path which I want to follow? Whether I want to go offline, online, or how, which path I want to follow is equally important in reaching to the target audiences. Now, when I have this top two columns completely filled, we feel as if, yes, my business plan is ready. I'm ready to go all out. So, no, my dear friends, no business is complete unless and until you know what are the finances, what are the revenues that you are going to generate. Because we are doing business to earn, to take profits out of that business. So that's the reason finance, profit and loss is also equally important. You need to check what are my fixed variable, what are my, variable expenses. And lastly, if what is the revenue that I'm going to be generated, return on investment, whatever investment I've generated, put in my business, what is the revenue which I'll be getting by the end of the day, and through which all channels I'll be getting. If I can put that channels in percentages, it will be very, very beneficial for me to, when I move on to marketing, I'll be knowing that how much fund should I allocate to what type of channel. So, for example, if I want to say that I am into e-commerce marketing, then probably I need to say that how much business will be coming from online marketing, how much business will be generated through Amazon, what is the percentage I'll be getting through Flipkart, what is the percentage of revenue I'll be getting through JioMart online, what is the revenue percentage I'll be getting through Meesho. So when I know this, I know how much funds to be applied on Amazon, how much fund to be applied on my platform, and so on and so forth. So when the goal is clear, my fund allocation will be pretty clear in this case. So this was all about business model simplified. You can use it in your business models. It will be really helpful for you guys. Now, when I know what business I'm going to enter into, be it India or be it any part of the globe, there are legal compliances which we want to follow. Without this, our business will not sustain. And that's the reason it is very crucial to take this legal and regulatory compliance in today's agenda, because we feel ki, yes, everything is done, let's start the business. But no, you need to have that legal compliances in your place. So legal compliance is always decided based on the business structure. Are you going to have a sole proprietorship or a partnership or a limited liability company or a corporation? That depends upon your objective, your goal, what you want to start. But these are the types of business structures that you have. Based on this business structure, you need to attain the necessary permits. Say, for example, drug license, food license, GST license. If you want to deal with import export, you need to have your import export license. Based on the industry type also, you need to have your regulatory compliances. Say, for example, now since I am from e-commerce, again we need to see what is my return and refund policy, what is my privacy and data security policy, what is the company policy which I need to show. And there should be a transparency everywhere in my website, in all the portals also, because end of the day, consumer will only trust when there are legal and regulatory compliances being followed. And lastly, the IPRs, which is very, very crucial nowadays when people are, cut, copy, pasting everything. You need to ensure if there are patents applicable, you need to go for patents. If there are trademarks, copyrights, you need to ensure that you have all the things in place. So since we guys are not from this background, you, me, we are not from this background. So the best part is, it is always advisable to have a legal advisor who can guide you based on your goals. But this is the brief idea which I was able to give it to you. Now, based on the legal structure, you can have a businesses as sole proprietor, partnership, LLC, or a corporation. But these four frameworks remains constant, which is, you need to just hold on. Yeah, which is legal requirements based on liabilities, taxations, and everything. So when I talk about sole proprietorship, the legal requirements are very, very few. Just your Aadhaar card and PAN card, you can have your, business setup. Liability, yes, the liabilities are at very high, because if in case if you take any loan, there are personal assets, then probably you need to, your personal assets will be at risk if there are liabilities, if you're taking any loans and all. Taxation, you can fill it based on your personal returns, based on your ITRs, you can fill your taxations. But when I talk about partnership has to have a written agreement between partners. It could be one, two, three, or many partners. What is the percentage that you guys are deciding? But liability, again, it is individual based on that partner's percentage share. So whatever share he has contributed, the liability will be based on that. And taxation is always based on individual also. Individual partners can fill it in their individual returns, whatever they want to. LLC is more of an structured or an organized business. The documentation is more. You need to have a proper filing in the organization also. In this case, the liability is very limited, because whatever loans you are taking is based on your firm and not on your personal assets. So that's the reason in this case, LLC is always good to have. And there is always a flexibility of taxations. When I talk about the flexibility of taxations, basically we are talking about that taxation LLC can charge as a corporation also, or if they want, they can charge as a pass-through entity also. So there is always a flexibility in taxation. And when I talk about corporations like big institutions, yes, they have a proper from of chain work. They need to have a proper filing. A monthly filings are required. The liability is always shared among the stakeholders. The shareholders share the liability. At the same time, the taxation is done by the entire corporation itself. Individuals don't pay taxes in that cases. So this is how the business is, business structure is done based on sole proprietor, partner, LLC, and corporation. You can have a business in any of the form. All the forms are good. ऐसा नहीं है कि a startup should only have a sole proprietor or a partner. A startup can directly start with a private limited LLC also, or even they can start with a corporation also. But only thing is, you need to ensure that you follow to the legal compliances which the government of India requests all of us to follow. That's the only challenge which you all would be facing. But when you have a legal advisor in place, probably he'll take care of all the legal issues or legal compliances. So you don't need to scratch your head on all those things. So for me, all are equal. You can start with anyone, but more important is to start. Now talking about very, very crucial thing, funding and finances. Well, we all need funding, right? Be it business, be it our family, be it our organization, we all need funding. And funding and finances are more crucial for startups, because there is always a cash crunch. So that's the reason, my dear friends, to take you further, this is another very interesting topic on fundings. Now, what all types of fundings you have? Well, we have 5 types of funding, which you all must have heard some point in your life also. If not, so now this is the time where you can hear it. There is a bootstrap funding. There is a debt funding. There is an angel funding, venture capitalist funding, and crowdfunding. Now to talk about bootstrap funding is nothing but you are putting your own money to your business. You're putting your own savings to your business, or maybe you're taking it from your relatives who is just interested to help you, and you're putting that money in your business. So that's what bootstrap is. The best part of bootstrap will be you have full control on your money, where to invest, how much to invest, and you can use it whenever you want. The only thing over here would be there would be always limited resources. You will not have that leisure of investing money everywhere. You will have to take a wise decision on where to invest, how much to invest, and when to invest. Very, very critical. Moving on to debt funding. Yes, debt funding is something which is governed by the loans or the credit lines or bonds. The most common source is basically banks. Again, debt funding, if the bootstrap funding is not sufficient enough, you can always move on to debt funding also. Angel funding and venture capitalists, these are the two forms where, they are almost similar, but still they are not similar. That's the reason I've kept them separate. They work in a similar fashion, but they are not similar. Angel funding and investor funding, the money is invested by the angels or the venture capitalists. They invest the money in your organization. The best part is they don't take any interest on the money that they have invested in your organization. But then there is no free meal in this world, right? So that's the reason, my dear friends, what do? They take some amount of share from your company, either 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%. That depends upon how much money you are requesting and how much money you want to be funded in your venture or in your investment business. So venture capitalist and angel funding, they always work on your share. So here the drawback is you will not have any control on the money or even the decision making. You will have to always seek approvals from the persons who have invested in your money. Now, when angel funding is something where the angel himself invests his money, or a person himself invests his money to your business. And venture capitalist is something where there is a firm who invest money in your business. So that's the only difference between angel funding and venture capitalist. Crowdfunding is something where you take money from not just one person, but you take it from a pool or a well of persons, and then you invest that money in your business. So there again, since there are several parties involved, you need to, you don't have that power of decision making. But the best part over here would be there would be a lot of networking which will be happening. So your awareness of your business will be spreading at several presses, because it's not only you who would be talking, but there would be several people talking about your business. But if you take my advice, my dear friends, I would say bootstrap funding is always good to start with, because that is something where you have the control of your business. Angel funding or invest venture capitalist, you should go only at that point of time when you have that brand ambassador coming and branding for your business. Or else angel funding will be of no use. Just taking money will be of no use. Say, for example, Sunil Shetty, he is also an angel investor. But if you take money from Sunil Shetty, but he doesn't talk about your product, then what is the use of it? You need to ensure that if you are taking money from Sunil Shetty as an angel investor, he should talk about your product, so your money would be boosted. So when you feel that your organization has come to that stage, when you actually need an angel investor, you can always go into that. But to start off, bootstrap is always good as a funding source. But can anyone tell me what is this? I know it is self-explanatory. It is very, very.
Actually, participants are not able to unmute in this mode. Otherwise, I'm sure they would have. But in the question answer session, I'm sure they will have lots of questions.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
So less is more. My dear friends, less is more. We have a very, very famous saying that less money but more passion will help you to scale up your business. Less money but more enthusiasm will help you to scale up your business. But if you reverse, less enthusiasm but more money will give you a big downfall. So don't think that, I don't have lakhs of rupees, I don't have crores of rupees, you can't be Ambani's in one day, my dear friend. But even if you have 20,000, 30,000, you can start your business. It's not about money. It's all about encouragement. It's all about courage, passion, perseverance, resilience, which makes you an entrepreneur. So less is more. Keep this in mind. Don't think and don't go into this phase of debt funding, angel funding, venture capitalist, and crowdfunding. Even if you are a bootstrapper strap, it is good to start. So less is more, mark my words. But as we all know, as we manage our finances at home, it is equally important to manage our funding and finances in businesses also. And there are three crucial steps. First is planning. What budget are you looking for? Without budget, no business is successful. So you need to put some budget into it, which will give you a stability. Equally important, you need to have a cash flow management also to manage your day-to-day expenses. It's not like I'll give tomorrow. No, if there's an expense which is occurred today, you need to pay today so that you have your cash flow going on very, very smoothly. Now, when you have done your financial planning, it is equally important to have a financial management. And that's where most of the businesses or startup struggle. Please ensure that you keep two separate accounts. One for your personal account, banking account, and one for your business account. Don't merge both the accounts together. Otherwise, you will fail miserably. You need to ensure that your both the accounts are separate and you follow your tax compliances. If government says that GST should be filled monthly or quarterly or yearly, please ensure you follow those compliances to not fall into any kind of financial crisis. And lastly, you need to have a growth strategy also, because you have money, you have finance, but you don't know how to grow, then you will be stuck up. And that's the reason you need to see that, do I need to invest in this current business, or is there any exit strategy which I need to follow? So these are all the growth strategies which we really need to follow. Moving on to next, if I talk about marketing and sales, no product is successful without marketing and sales. And that's the reason, even if you have a best of the strategy, but if not marketed well, you won't be able to succeed. And that's the reason marketing and sales are equally important. And when I talk about marketing and sales, you need to have these four P's in pace: product, price, place, and promotion. These four P's should be there in your place to ensure that your marketing, your communication should be there. The budget allocation for marketing expenses should be there. Sales funnel is a very interesting term. When I talk about sales funnel, you must have seen funnels, you must have used in laboratories, in your day-to-day house, workplaces, home places also. Funnel is always something which is broader on the top and narrow at the bottom. So this is equally applicable for a sales funnel also, because when the customer comes, they come in huge number. But when it comes to actual physical buying, there are hardly few people who actually buy your product. So you need to identify that who are those customers who are probably buying my product. Otherwise, you will be wasting your resources on the top of the product where large numbers are falling in. You need to utilize your resource at the bottom of the funnel, the ones who are actually purchasing your product. And lastly, there should be a content calendars, and for everything there should be a KPIs. Like how for our annual increments there are KPIs. Similarly, we need to have our KPIs for our businesses also. You need to have a product and development team, a sales team also. A best example where I would say here is, rapid kits or point of care kits. Who in the world must have thought few decades back, where the conventional way was going into laboratories, giving our blood and getting the reports after 24 hours to check whether we have diabetic or we have thyroids or whatever diseases that we are linked to. Rapid kits are something which were initially used only for pregnancy detection, but now the point of care kits are widely available, and not just for pregnancy but for more than 70 diseases. This point of care kits can track, be it diabetes, be it thyroid, or be it uric acid, whatever things they can detect. Now you tell me, such a fabulous product, if not marketed well, if not communicated well, would have been a success? No, my dear friends, the product needs to be communicated, needs to be marketed well, and that's the reason sales engagement is equally important. You need to train your sales executive, you need to take the consumer feedbacks also, and more importantly, you need to have a product in your pipeline. You cannot stick to one product. You need to have multiple products being added to your kitty so that the consumers can get a basket to offer. So this was all about the sales and product development. Another quick tip, well, I'll be giving you some quick tips time and between, because I don't want you to have all the tips all at a time. This is very, very crucial. Post-COVID, the world has changed, my dear friends. So don't think local. Don't just think about Pune, or don't just think about Maharashtra, or don't just think about West Zone or India. Think about the globe. The data is available, the resources available. Don't restrict. If you venture into business, don't restrict your business only for India. Give it and think for the globe. I'm not telling you think right now, but have a aspiration of global thinking. The example which I gave of Alchem or Sun, they started off small with a distributorship, and today Alchem and Sun, they have their manufacturing plant not just in India, but they have manufacturing plant across the globe in Australia, US, UK, so many places. It's not a one night's time or a fortnight's time or a year's time. It took time for them to build. But they had a thought in vision, a global vision, not just a local vision. So please have a global vision in whatever industry you have, in whatever industry you go, or in whatever industry you wish to set up. Have a global vision in your mind. Very, very crucial. Again, everything is there, but if you don't have your operations and logistic in line, you will fail miserably. And that's the reason, my dear friends, supply chain is very important, so that you don't, go out of stock. Inventory management plays a crucial part, because if your client is being habituated of taking your products, then you have to ensure that you have that adequate inventory in mind. There should be a distribution partner, how that transport will be, product will be transported from the manufacturing site to your warehouse. The distribution network should be in place. Warehouse and inventory management should be in place. At the same time, technology and automation you should be able to put. Gone are the days where the manual entry used to happen. Now everything is automated. By just one click, you will get all the invoices in your hand, in your palms also. That's the reason, my dear friends, technology and automation should be integrated in your day-to-day business force. Now moving ahead to this, giving you an example of classic example of our own industry, we need heavily cold chain storage system to transport our vaccines, to transport our drugs from one place to another, or even from one country to another country. Has anybody given a thought that cold chain system is heavily dependent on this operation and logistic? What temperature, what vehicle, how to carry that? Because vaccines are very, very crucial. I'm just giving you a business idea now. So operations and logistics are again very crucial here. Networking. Well, networking in business is, intangible, I would say. It is intangible, it is infinite, it is an ongoing process. Like, you have to keep on upgrading your knowledge, you have to keep on upgrading your network. There is no end to networking. And why I say networking is not just exchanging your visiting cards. Networking is scaling with a purpose, growing with a purpose, and growing together. It's not only one and one, you all should grow. The first philosophy of network is you give before you take. Now, for example, networking, if I say, what do you understand by networking? When I talk about networking, we say that I am into APIs, and I know a friend who is a nail polish maker. Well, API guy also needs alcohol, a nail polish maker also needs alcohol. Probably we both can network together. He can give me his alcohol supplier, I can give him my color suppliers, and probably we both would be mutually benefited. That's how networking helps. So where you can network? Well, you can network in events and seminars. Latest CPHI in Noida is going to happen. That is going to be a beautiful place for networking. You can network, you can know each other. Well, you can network through social media like platforms like LinkedIn, Insta, Pinterest, YouTube, anywhere you can network. You can network through professional organizations like BNI is there, Saturday clubs are there, lot many things are there where you can actually network with good people. But the biggest philosophy of networking is not just give before you take, but more importantly, you listen carefully what this other person is trying to say you. And lastly, you need to seek a mentor. Without mentor, it will be difficult for you to network. So you need to seek a mentor also. Mentor can be, you can be from your field, or he can be from a different field. But more importantly, he should help you in upscaling your business. He should guide you in upscaling your business. You need to be respectful to the mentor. Be professional, but at the same time, don't expect a proper formal relationship with a mentor. A mentor can be an informal mentor to you, or can be a formal mentor to you. But you have to have a mentor in your businesses, which will help you to build relationship. Be passionate, but at the same time, be curious also about talking to your mentor, because the more curious you are, the more knowledge you will be getting from your mentor too. Last but not the least, my dear friend, exit strategy. Now, when I talk about exit strategy is not when your businesses fail. Exit strategy is something when you say that I have done a lot from my business. Now I need to sell my business, or I want to merge my business to another business, or I want to go IPO. So there has to be an exit strategy for your business. Probably at some point of time, you will retire from your business. So what should be your exit strategy? You need to have that also in line. With this, my last tip is persistence and resilience. Well, we need to have persistence and resilience in our business. When I talk about persistence will keep you going when the going is tough. And resilience will give you a backup support, so that when everything is smooth, you can again stand up and move ahead. And the best example which instantly clicked my mind is nothing but the relation of Steve Jobs and Apple. He was persistent for Apple to be on the top, and he was resilient enough to ensure that no matter whatever happens, Apple will keep on upgrading its phone. And today, you know where Apple is standing, where iPhones are standing, right? Now, whatever roadmap we have seen, taking you through the live example on how this roadmap have actually helped me and my team to launch Kenaf Healthcare, emerging, fastest growing nutraceutical company. When I talk about this, in pharma language, we say these are oral disintegrating strips. But yes, in my language, I say these are mouth dissolving films. When I talk about mouth dissolving films, as I said that in pharma, this was a niche market, but in FMCG, this was one of the fastest growing and upcoming market. I tried to bridge the pharma and the FMCG sector to ensure that the consumer will be benefited with it. And that's the reason green tea dissolving tablets were already available and being used by a lot many onco patients. I utilized that green tea extract and we developed India's finest dissolving green tea film. No one in this, no one would have thought that a green tea which is being conventionally taken in a tea bag is now dissolved in water and you can actually have a complete cup of sip. So whatever goes into your stomach is actually the purest and the complete form. So my dear friends, these are our products. We have green tea instant dissolving films. We have vitamin D3 2000 IU mouth dissolving films. And we have melatonin peaceful sleep mouth dissolving films. All are natural products. All are vegan and all are something which is, giving you or helping you to stay on top of the world, which you cannot get it through food or any other sources, but you need to strive to get your dosage. So green tea is nothing but a green tea extract which has got 98% polyphenol content, which is unlike the tea conventional tea bags, and even it gives you 50 to 60% EGCG content, catechin content, because of which the antioxidant property of green tea films are more than the conventional tea bags. Now, allow me to show you a small video of this to help you understand now what is this.
Hello, sir. So sorry to interrupt. The next speaker is waiting. So we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to- Thank you.
Now, quickly moving on to similarly, we have vitamin D also, which gives you a better adherence, a dosage viability, a convenient dosage and dosage accuracy also. And lastly, a melatonin film, which where most of the people complained of not getting regular sleep because of the sleep cycle. So we introduced melatonin film in a mouth dissolving film, giving you them a solution that this film can be consumed without water, giving a plus advantage of no urination in the night. Last but not the least, now how we incorporated this entire idea in the roadmap was there was a business idea generation to give a unique idea which will have a sustainability and a scalability. We did a market research with a survey, with a feedback, with one-to-one interactions and secondary research also. There was a regulatory compliance done also where we thought of we should have a sole proprietorship with the TM and copyright and patented followed. We had a funding options explored for our businesses. We decided our goals and decided the target audience. More important was operations and logistics to ensure timely delivery of our product to the customer without zero returns. And networking, as I said, is an ongoing process. So my dear friends, this was the roadmap that we discussed, which we have also incorporated in our businesses. So with this, thank you for your patience listening, and I'll be happy to take on all your questions. With this, I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sagar. It was a very informative, very well planned, and very inspiring session. You have included ABCs of all business right from beginning to end. In fact, we are struggling to drive this institutional innovation cell wherein we are supposed to bring in innovative ideas from the students, and then they are supposed to come with idea, then get some mentors and convert it into pre-incubation, incubation, and then converting into startup, then supporting them in terms of legal, financial aspects, and feasibility. So, as a compulsion from AICT, almost all of us from all the technical institutes, we have started exercising this. I
That's
know
great.
next speaker, Dr. Gupta, is waiting, but this is also again a topic which I really cannot go away from without asking only one question. Have you come across any academic startups which has been converted into a successful entrepreneurs? If yes, in short, can you share idea?
Yes, academic startups. Byju's was one of the academic startups which is really going on, and today they are really sponsoring the Indian cricket team also. So Byju's was one of the academic startup which really started
No,
off
I mean coming from academic institution
coming from academic institution in terms of.
like ours, maybe pharmacy college, engineering college, any medical college.
Yeah, so
Students have
if I would talk in that sense, then there are some like I have come across from IITians. There are several IITians who have started up several things, and they were able to scale up their businesses. So there are several examples in that case. But at the same time, in terms of other institutions like management, yes, there are many management institutions coming and entering into a startup. There are many. In fact, latest one I have introduced, I have seen was a student launching a meal box, a healthy meal box, cloud kitchen concept to the schools. A very innovative idea. The schools, especially in metros where actually the students are not able to eat a nutritious food because their parents are working. So he launched a cloud kitchen concept, a dark kitchen concept, where he was actually giving a proper four-course meal to these students and delivering it with a proper nutrition background. So this was a and he was a student. He was not a 35, 40 or a 45 plus grad like us. He was a student who was just 20 years old. And it got an idea and he started off with this. So this is one latest, which was very inspiring for me also. And he
brilliant.
also founded off in the same way. He didn't had a lot of money to start up, but he said that I wanted to do something on my own, and he did his own research and he met the school principal, and that's how we entered. So today he's catering to almost 5 schools in Navi Mumbai.
Wow, that's really good.
So for a 20-year grad, it's a big number.
Super. Definitely, we were in search of somebody who can really make us understand कि कहाँ से business शुरू करते हैं, right from you started from inspirational stories, your own story, then market analysis, research, competition analysis. So all these things are topics which we really cannot cover in a span of 1.5 hours. So this will
Actually, this
need
was a
a
9 days
series.
complete
Yes, yes.
plan.
This will need a series of lectures. Definitely, we will be in touch with you. Uh, but right now, for this session, I must thank you on behalf of all of us, especially management and principal and coordinators of AI Systems College of Pharmacy for sparing your valuable time. Thank you very much. We will be in touch with you, sir. We'll definitely organize many more sessions from your end.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. But
Thank you
I
very much.
really thank the entire AISSMS College of Pharmacy. At the same time, all the colleagues who helped me, Sheetal, I need not take her name now, but for really inviting me to this forum. And it was my honor to be a part of this entire, event. So I really thank, and it was nice meeting Damle ma'am also. Thank you once again. Thank you, sir. It was nice meeting you also.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. So here we conclude this session. Over to you, Dr. Mangesh Balekar, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Damle madam, Yes, Dr. Vijay is there. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's my pleasure to have an opportunity to introduce Dr. Vijay Gupte. Presently, he is working as a director, Global CMC Alliance and Partnership at ISI Inc. In USA. It's very nice to meet you, sir, because Dr. Gupte has been a reviewer for some of our PhD works, and he has done a very critical evaluation, and we are very thankful for that. So coming to his introduction, Dr. Vijay has experience of 27 years professional experience in the development of therapies for oncology, neurology, cardiovascular, metabolic diseases, and neglected tropical diseases. He has demonstrated leadership and program management skills with track record of successfully executed projects. And he has a strong technical background of dosage form development for small molecules and biologics. He has led and participated in multiple due diligence assignments for assessment of in-licensing opportunities, including new chemical entities and technologies, as well as out-licensing opportunities. He has done his bachelor's from Bombay College of Pharmacy in the period of 1985 to 1989 in University of Bombay, and from 1990 to 1995. He did his PhD at Division of Pharmaceutics, College of Pharmacy, University of Iowa. In November 2003 to April 2004, he did his business certification from Northern Illinois University. Speaking of experience, he started as an associate scientist in July 1996 at R&D Formulations CIMA Labs, which is now Teva. And he developed test mask coated formulations for various actives. Later, in July 2000, he joined as a project leader at pharmaceutical development, TAP pharmaceutical products, and where he provided leadership for cross-functional project team within pharmaceutical development on development programs. Then in 2007, he joined as an associate director at Takeda Global Research and Development as a team leader for development team for life cycle management project. And again in 2013, he became an associate director for Innovation Technology Laboratories, CMC Center, Takeda Global Research and Development Center. And he provided the drug delivery expertise for assessment of enabling technologies. He has delivered talks on Beyond the Pill, addressing future patient needs through importance of pharmaceutical profiling at Oral Drug Formulation Innovation Summit in 2014 at San Diego. And another talk on simplified formulations for early phase clinical studies at Enhancing Drug Viability and Solubility at Boston. And another one at IQ Consortium Drug Product Working Group, where he delivered a talk on extemporaneous formulations for first in human studies, which was a webinar held in 2011. He has got 2 US patents granted, one on modified release dosage form of xanthine oxidoreductase inhibitor or xanthine oxidase inhibitors. One was granted in 2016 on types of dosage forms, and another one with the same title on desirable PK profiles, granted in 2018. And he's a registered pharmacist in Minnesota and Wisconsin states. So with that brief introduction, I would request Dr. Vijay to take over and deliver his talk.
Thank you very much, Dr. Balekar, for the kind introduction. And I would like to thank AIISSMC for inviting me, particularly my friend, Dr. Damle. And since she invited, I could not refuse. And it's my pleasure to be talking to all the educators here. And I hope I can give you some idea about development of neglected tropical diseases, therapies for those which follow a little different path from regular development. So let me jump into the talk. So I just want to check if my screen is visible. Dr. Balekar, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
And is it in the full presentation mode?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. So I will go through an outline of what I'm going to talk about today. A personal introduction, which Dr. Balekar already did a great job. He was more than kind on that. So I will skip some of that part. I will talk about what are neglected tropical diseases. I'm sorry, I'm going to move screens so I don't. Bear with me, I have to look on the side because the presentation has gone to the side screen. So I'm going to talk about what are neglected tropical diseases, discovery and development of drugs for neglected tropical diseases, some key aspects of development, and lastly about TPP-driven CMC development for malaria, as well as some lessons learned from AbbVie, who has been very active in this area. I chose this for a very specific reason. The AbbVie lessons are from a published case study. So I wanted to make sure I'm not talking about anything proprietary, and this is public information. So that's what I wanted to say upfront, that all materials are taken from public sources, and I've quoted the sources on my slides if people are interested. In this presentation, we are going to focus on new drug development, and there are highly effective approaches for controlling NTDs, and this is refers to mass drug administration of drugs that are effective in preventing these diseases. So that is not the focus of this discussion. And lastly, any views expressed are based on my sole experience and do not express the views of my employer or any organization that is involved in NTD development. I'm going to skip over this since Dr. Balekar has already talked to you about all of this, but I would wish to say that in my current position, my company is involved in oncology, neurology, and neglected tropical diseases. And when I came to work for ASI, I had no idea that I will be spending so much time on NTDs, but it has been a very fulfilling experience. So, and I hope I can convey the story of NTDs to you today. So let's take a look at what are NTDs, or neglected tropical diseases. This is the WHO definition of NTDs. So neglected tropical diseases are diseases of poverty that impose a devastating human, social, and economic burden on more than 1 billion people worldwide. They are predominantly found in the tropical and subtropical areas, and are common amongst the most vulnerable and marginalized population. The WHO includes 17 diseases in its list of NTDs, and historically, these diseases have caused significant mortality and morbidity in millions across the developing world. But it's also important to know, in addition to that, these diseases have a devastating consequence on the economic conditions of the people that are affected by it. There is also significant stigma attached with some of these diseases. So they have a very deep impact on the folks that are affected. However, until recently, these diseases have not received much global attention, and prompting them to be designated as neglected. So this is the list of 17 NTDs that are listed by WHO. And the ones marked with the arrows are diseases that I have actually worked with. I've had the pleasure of being on projects for these diseases. I would also like to say that although malaria is not considered an NTD, WHO and other agencies employ similar strategies for development of malaria, and I will talk about that a little later. So going to a little bit of a historical milestones which are related to NTDs. So the global response for combating NTDs started with development of Millennium Development Goals back in the year 2000 by United Nations, which were adopted by its member states. And how that relates to NTDs is the MDG 6, which is Millennium Development Goal 6, was specifically for combating HIV/AIDS, malaria, and other major diseases. What actually happened is there was a lot of focus on HIV/AIDS, malaria, and TB, and the other diseases were kind of sidelined, and they have really a great impact on the extremely poor population. So this prompted coordination of specific efforts to direct resources to address NTDs. The idea of grouping NTDs and integrating control efforts was conceptualized in 2003 by the WHO. And I'm not going to pronounce the German meeting that is listed here. In 2005, the WHO created a department for NTDs. And in 2006, the Global Network for NTDs was created. So these are all very important steps towards fighting of NTDs. Additionally, countries responded to this immense challenge by developing policies and forming national objectives to fight NTDs, while international stakeholders pledged support by signing the London Declaration in January of 2030. So this is really a pivotal moment where the NTD London Declaration was signed in 2012, which involved governments, non-government organizations, pharma companies, and many other stakeholders. And this was really important in the fight for NTDs. So let's take a look at what are the companies or what are the organizations that were part of the London Declaration. So as I mentioned, pharma companies, donors, endemic countries, and government organizations came together to sign the London Declaration. And this was really spearheaded by the WHO and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And CEOs of the companies that are listed here really pledged their support to this effort. And then this declaration was renewed in the year 2022 by the Kigali Declaration, which based on the progress that has already been made by the London Declaration. So these are the guidelines from the 2012 roadmap of WHO. And what I've highlighted here, what is related to drug development is preventive chemotherapy and intensified disease management. And there are other very important ways of controlling these diseases, which are related to vector control and then veterinary health and provision of safe water sanitation. But these are out of scope for us. So all these strategies, which does not say they're not important. So these are all very important strategies that need to work together for eventually breaking the transmission and eliminating NTDs, which is the ultimate goal. So let's take a look at discovery and development of NTDs, which is, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very different development paradigm from regular development of drugs. So I hope to show that with a few slides. So I see that Dr. Bhalekar has a hand raised. do you have a question, Dr. Balekar? Yeah.
No, sir, it happened accidentally.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. So I would like to, I think most of you are very familiar what it takes for development of a drug from discovery stage to bringing it on the market. It's a very, very long pathway, and you start off with thousands of compounds, and in the preclinical stage itself, this could last as long as 3 to 6 years. And then the drug enters clinical trials, which takes 6 to 7 years. And then after that, after very intense scrutiny by regulatory authorities, it actually becomes a marketed drug. So what is the standard development model? So this is the standard development model on the top right. So there is a big market. There is the people who have the disease can pay for the drugs, and that drives the market growth, and that actually drives the development of these therapies. What is different about tropical diseases? So these, as I mentioned, these are diseases of poverty and endemic amongst countries that cannot afford the therapies. So there is not incentive from the market for development of these drugs. So it's there is a need for a different model for development. So the key imperative in addressing challenge of NTDs is how to align the necessary scientific expertise, assets, and financial resources needed to discover and develop drugs to prevent and treat these diseases. So as you can imagine, you really need all these expertise, assets, and financial resources for development. Global pharma and biotech companies have these capabilities, but with few exceptions, they have little or no commercial rationale to invest in many years of R&D to bring these drugs to market. Additionally, these drugs need to be made affordable, accessible, and reliable for extremely poor patients. So here I would like to introduce the concept of PDPs, or product development partnerships. And this is a very important concept in development of NTDs. So I'm going to take some time in explaining this concept. So in the late 1990s, an innovation model for R&D of these therapies came about in the form of public-private partnerships that were later called PDPs, or product development partnerships. So PDPs were created from a desire to generate innovative approaches to really alleviate the global burden of these diseases. And what they do is utilize the expertise and knowledge of both private and public sectors, and exploiting the strengths of both for the greater benefit. They address the lack of commercial incentive to undertake R&D for vaccines, diagnostics, and drugs. And I have underlined drugs because that's what we are talking about today. Use of public and philanthropic funds to engage the pharma industry and academic institutions in undertaking R&D for diseases of the developing world. And normally, pharma companies would not be doing this on their own, and neither would academic institutions be doing this without additional incentives. So let's take a look at some of the characteristics of a PDP. So the PDP itself does not have the capacity or infrastructure to undertake early stage development in-house. Rather, they rely on partners for financing and other in-kind contributions. So what is in-kind contributions? So these are pharma companies offering their laboratories and facilities and expertise. And they often do not charge or do not take any money from the PDP for doing this. So that's why it's called in-kind contributions. So PDP personnel are resources for the most promising projects. They coordinate partner activities for various stages of R&D and also manage the project portfolio. So really, they're acting as facilitators. The people who are part of PDPs have actually worked in the pharma industry and or they're from academics and they have years of experience behind them. So the PDPs address the lack of commercial incentive to undertake R&D for these. I'm sorry. So the specific objectives of individual PDPs vary, but the basic mission is the same, to develop pharma products for greater public good to address health needs. So this is a graphic representation of exactly what I said earlier. So the PDP is at the center, coordinating the effort for development, and they are working with funding agencies, regulators, government agencies, and pharma companies. And the name AbbVie is mentioned here because this is taken from the case study, but this could be any other pharma company that is involved in NTD development. So here are some examples of PDPs. So two most prominent product development partnership. One is Medicines for Malaria Venture, and as the name suggests, they are really focused on development of therapies for malaria. So they were founded back in the year 1999, and their collaborations include research institutions, academic institutions, governments, NGOs, and pharma companies. MMV has contributed tremendously to reduction of malaria in millions of people and reducing deaths associated with malaria. And they have the largest portfolio of anti-malarial projects that we will talk about briefly at the end. DNDI is another NGO, or I'm sorry, another PPD that I have been involved with, and it is another not-for-profit organization. And as the name suggests, it is Drugs for Neglected Diseases Initiative. So it was founded in the year 2003 by collaboration of Medicines Without Frontiers and 6 founding partner organizations. And then their primary focus is development of drugs for NTDs such as trypanosomiasis, visceral leishmaniasis, and Chagas disease. These are the prominent ones. And, they are also engaged in other areas such as malaria, pediatric HIV, and filarial infections. So, but their main focus is NTDs. So, what are some of the strategies that governmental organizations and other agencies are utilizing to make this attractive? So, some of these approaches can be classified as push and pull, and so the push is comes from cutting the cost of R&D for industry, and one of the most prominent strategy that was introduced by the FDA is the priority review voucher. So this is something the FDA will issue to a sponsor that has completed development of an NTD. And what this can be used for is for some other development drug. So converting that from a regular review to a priority review. And this is extremely valuable, folks. Priority review cuts down the review time of the FDA from a year to 6 months. And for a drug that is going to be on the market selling millions of dollars, that 6 months makes a big difference. So what is in it for companies that are academic institutions that have these priority review vouchers is they can sell those to companies that are in need, and that is a big incentive as well. And then there are other pull type of initiatives that increase the market effectiveness, and open source binding treaties, and global health system. These are all increasing the market effectiveness of these therapies. And there is a reference here that deals very much in detail with what I just explained very briefly in 30 seconds. The goal is to improve innovation for entities. So all these work together for this goal. So next, we will talk about some key aspects of entity development projects. And the previous speaker, Mr. Shukre, was talking about funding and how important it is. So really, entity development is also similar to an entrepreneurial project. So funding is really very important. So I will walk you through a typical workflow for the initiation of an entity project. So for lack of a better word, I have called academic institutions, not-for-profit organizations, PDPs, as innovators. So pharma companies are not the innovators in this case. So the drug or the series of molecules comes from one of these institutions. And then they approach a pharma partner, and within the pharma partner, there is an entity team that will do their due diligence and look for strategic alignment within the company. They really dissect the project and make a decision whether they want to advance on this collaboration. And one of the most important considerations is resources. So it takes resources for development. So the pharma company really has to give a good thought for how many resources are going to be tied in these projects. And then there is approvals within the company. And once the entity team approves a new project, the next step is completion of a grant proposal. And this is extremely important. Grant writing is a very important part of entity development. So for these, you need budget estimates, quotes, FT estimates, and then there is a proposal defense with the granting of authorities. So what are some of the funding sources? GHIT fund, US Department of Defense, UK MRC. So these are only a few examples, but I'm going to talk about the GHIT fund, which is one of the most prolific funders for entities. And so that's why I chose to talk a little bit about the GHIT fund. So the GHIT fund was started as an innovative financing model for global health R&D, and it was an initiative of the government of Japan, the industry, pharmaceutical industry, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as well as the Wellcome Trust. So all these entities came together to form the GHIT fund, and they invest in non-profit development for these conditions, and entities is mentioned here. So they are a very big funder for projects of entities. They have committed more than $200 million for the second phase of GHIT operations from 2018 to 2022. And more information about the GHIT fund can be found at this on their website. So I will walk you through some of the challenges in NTD projects. So one of the biggest challenge is timelines, and for somebody who's involved in drug development might say that what is the big deal? That is always a challenge for any development project. So I hope to make the difference clear to you. So funding agencies provide grants for a specific period of time, which is usually 2 to 3 years. So here is an example of the first grant that may be received for starting an entity project. So we have predefined grant objectives, we execute on those activities, evaluate results. But as this is ongoing, you have to keep an eye on the next grant that has to be applied for. So if you wait for this first grant to be complete, there's going to be a big gap in your funding. So the follow-on grant has to be overlapping with the current grant, and funding agencies like GHIT are really aware of this, and they actually encourage this type of fund requests. So as I mentioned, why is this challenging? So coming back to the development of a new chemical entity, so new entity drug therapies still have to go through this cycle of development. So for something that's going to take from 9 to 15 years, you can imagine grants that are available only for 2 to 3 years, how many grants you would have to apply for. And so this makes for a really, really long development cycle. So what are some of the CMC strategies that are helpful in this situation? The first is meticulous planning of activities to fit the grant period. So close collaboration with team members and seeking input on activities that are planned, and being candid about what can be achieved realistically. So the natural instinct is to pack as much as you can in a grant, but you need to be aware that the funding agencies are going to look at what can be realistically achieved in the grant period. So it's really important to be realistic about what you can include in the 2 to 3 year grant period. And then communication is I can't emphasize this enough. So as you saw what the PDP involves, they are communicating with a lot of parties. But similarly, for somebody who is in the pharma industry, this communication is extremely important. So you have to communicate internally as well as with development organizations and the PDP. And it's also important to keep your internal team informed about the various goals and upcoming deliverables. Again, tailoring your communication style to the audience is really important. If you're communicating internally, you would do this differently. But when you're talking to the PDP, that's a different level of communication. And then plan for success. Be vigilant about what needs to happen. Try to think about the next step and start grant preparation activities even as the first grant is in progress. So I will briefly give you some examples. I have not really gone into specifics about these for proprietary reasons, but something that will illustrate the challenge of NTD projects. So this is the background is this is a drug molecule that was nominated as a clinical candidate. So this triggered CMC development within my company. So drug substance for the candidate selection was prepared by a medchem route, and as some of you are medicinal chemists, so you know that the goal is making hundreds of compounds quickly. So you don't really pay attention to how scalable this route is at that stage, because that is not the focus. But once this drug becomes a clinical candidate, we need to find a way of making it efficiently. So the drug substance team was requested to supply scaled up material for dose range finding studies and GLP studies. And they used the medchem route with some modifications. But what happened is during the last step, there were issues with the process, and which caused a delay of 3 weeks for resolving the issue. And this may not seem as a big period, but when you have other CROs waiting for the drug to be delivered, this caused a big issue. And the drug substance team looked at the synthetic route very critically, and what they realized is that the synthetic route needs to be completely reworked and find a more efficient route. So the drug substance team focused on making the GLP material did not have resources for route change. And what was important is continuing with this current route will have serious impact on cost of materials. So this is really important because the funds that we receive from grants are really limited. So it is in everyone's interest to reduce the cost of materials as much as possible. And what is different from internal pipeline projects is we would have made additional resources available for a different project, but for NTD projects, this is a really difficult ask. So some of the steps taken were resources were discussed with different teams. Some alternatives that were considered were working with a CMO for route development, but it was very obvious that this should be taken on internally, not externally. So what was the outcome? It was not possible to do new route development in the current grant. So we specifically included steps for developing a new route in a second grant. And a new team was created for this because there were resources available from the second grant. They solved the issue by stereoselective chemistry and bringing the problematic reaction earlier in the synthetic process. And the summary of what this achieved was the initial Medchem route, the cost per kilo was about $1.1 million. The optimized Medchem route, which was used for GLP, was $250,000. But with all the improvements made with the new route, the GMP cost of materials is now down to $30,000. So next we will talk about development of malaria. So as most of you would have learned over the years that there are therapies for malaria for years. So why is this still an issue? So it's important to note that malaria still affects about more than 200 million people as of 2020. Malaria infections are seen around the equator globally, and the most affected regions of the world are shown on this map. And it's most severe in the African region. 620,000 deaths occurred in 2020 because of malaria. And more important to note is 70% of the death is in the pediatric population. There is a high-risk population of pregnant women and disease-naive individuals. So there's a need for new malaria therapies. So there is emerging resistance to existing treatments. So these are very effective treatments of malaria related to artemisinin, but there is resistance emerging even for these treatments. So there is really a need for new mechanisms of action and addressing the mortality associated with malaria. So this is again a reference that I have quoted here. So this is a really good review of the past, present, and future of malaria therapies. So on the WHO list of essential medicines, there are 14 treatments that are curative, and there are 4 preventive treatments. And perhaps the most effective of these treatments are artemisinin-based combinations, which use artemisinin derivatives, which are short-acting, and they are combined with long-acting drugs for sustained effect. MMV, or Medicines for Malaria Venture, has been involved in progressing 9 new anti-malaria treatments based on different combinations of approved drugs, which are shown here. All of these compounds are listed on the model list of essential medicines of WHO. And this slide shows how active MMV has been in the fight for malaria, and they are partnered with academic institutions and pharma companies and really bringing new anti-malarias to the market. So as you can see from this slide, they have a huge pipeline, and they are partnered with many companies and academic institutions. So my current company is mentioned here. So they go all the way from lead optimization to therapies that are already on the market. So next I'm going to talk about target product profile. So MMV, based on their experience of more than two decades, they have developed two target product profiles, TPP1 and TPP2. And TPP1 is really for treatment, and TPP2 is for chemo prevention. So MMV is interested in both treatment as well as chemo protection, and they are working on both fronts. On the right side, you can see the malarial life cycle, and based on where in the life cycle your drug is acting, they have developed 6 different target candidate profiles, or TCPs. So they have linked the TPPs and TCPs as shown here. So only TCP4 is for TPP2, which is chemo protection, and TCP1, 3, 5, and 6 are important for treatments. They have retired TCP2 recently, so that's why it's not shown on the slide. So this information is really available very freely on the MMV website. So anybody who is interested in malaria development can gain a lot of information on the MMV website. So we really don't have time to go over this. But what I wanted to bring out is, how informative the MMV guidelines are, and they have developed clear guidelines for candidate profiles that somebody who is working with MMV has to follow, or they're also important for somebody who is not working with MMV, because really you need to bring a therapy to market that would be affordable. So they have minimal guidelines and they have ideal guidelines. So for something that is curative, the bioavailability needs to be at least 30% and ideally more than 50%. Very important is the cost. So they have prescribed what the cost should be for the treatment. So ideally it should be less than 50 cents for adults. Minimally it should be 50 cents, and ideally it should be less than or equal to 25 cents for a treatment. The drugs have to be stable where they are going to be used. So zone 4B stability has to be at least 6 to 24 months minimally, and ideally it should be more than 1 year, or between 1 to 5 years. There is also guideline for how much for TCP4, the oral dose should be less than 1,000 milligrams, and for ideally it should be less than 100 milligrams. So how effective the drug is, or what is the potency, becomes very important. So these are factors that you need to pay attention to for the molecules that you're developing. So keeping that in mind, I will give a quick example of a late phase project that I was involved in. Phase 2 studies were completed with a partner, and they showed really good efficacy. So the academic partner was really eager to go into more phase 2 studies, and so far we had done the studies with using a capsule formulation, and this formulation was really not appropriate as a marketed formulation, and the reasons are scale up was challenging, and we needed to improve the stability in zone 4B condition, and most important is the cost. So the cost was not ideal. As a company, we suggested to the partner that we should switch to a different formulation. But the academic partner who was the innovator, they had real difficulty understanding why we need to switch from a capsule formulation that is working to a new formulation. So we had to go into discussions about the MME profiles and what are the guidelines, and why we need to do this at this time. So these are essential costs that we need to incur now so that the product really reaches patients. So if we go into phase 3 studies with an expensive formulation, that's not going to help anybody. So we were able to work with our partner to incorporate the plan for a reformulation in the next phase of development. So I'm going to skip over this slide in interest of time. So lastly, I'm going to talk about a case study from AbbVie and how they are involved in entities. And so, as I mentioned, this is from a case study that was put together by the Harvard Kennedy School of Business, and they have really taken a good look at what AbbVie has done in this field. And I thought this really ties together very nicely, some of the lessons learned from their experience. So AbbVie's engagement in tackling NTDs is really illustrative of leadership that has brought together institutions and a pharma company for product development. So what is important to note is that AbbVie has no existing products or any commercial interest in discovering, developing drugs for NTDs, and yet their senior management and scientists are committed to this cause. The company has highly skilled scientists, which has skills and technologies that have helped in this field. And there is a deep-seated professional commitment to advancing scientific knowledge and improving human health by making a meaningful pro bono contribution. So pro bono means they do not expect anything in return for this type of work. So this is a summary of as of 2016. It's a little dated now, but as I said, this is taken from a case study. So AbbVie has shared more than 120,000 compounds with non-profit research partners. Hundreds of scientific tests have been taken in the company's labs on their behalf. Over the past several years, 160 AbbVie scientists have been working on company's effort for NTDs and supporting senior management in these efforts. They have engaged in a number of PDPs, and I already mentioned DNDi and MMV, but there are other PDPs like the TB Alliance and the TB Drug Accelerator and the Anti-Wolbachia Consortium, which is with lymphatic filariasis. So to summarize, what are some of the lessons learned from AbbVie's involvement in NTDs? So the first lesson is to leverage core expertise and capabilities. So although there is no commercial interest, a company can make a valuable contribution through engaging skills and passion of its employees. So the employees that were involved in these efforts really had a passion for improving global health. Sustain senior executive support, and this really should have been number one. So unless there is a deep-seated commitment from senior management, this is not possible. So there has to be support from the highest level of management for creating an enabling environment for employees participating in this development. For my own company, my company's CEO is a signatory of the original London Declaration, and ASA as a company is also very, very heavily involved in mass drug administration for lymphatic filariasis. Thinking outside silos is another lesson learned. It's very important for organizations to think beyond boundaries. So team building between different organizations. So when you're working in a pharma company, you tend to be working in your very small field. But from my own experience on entities, this has really opened up my horizon and helped me interact with a lot of different institutions and scientists outside of the company. The next lesson learned is take time to build trust and share understanding with external partners. So, as I mentioned, there are different partners, the academic institution and the pharma companies. Such partnerships should take advantage of diverse resources and capabilities, and there really needs to be respect for each other's capabilities. And the success of these projects really depends on how well these teams work with each other. Explore opportunities for non-competitive industry collaboration. One of the neutral convener or backbone organization, which plays an essential role for bringing companies together. So one is the Gates CEO Roundtable. Other examples, TB Accelerator. So as you may imagine, IP is a very important resource, and working together with different companies, you have to be very cognizant of your own IP and protecting it. But for this type of development, it's a really different model in which IP is being shared freely and with the help of some of these facilitators. I have already talked about thinking outside silos. Again, rigorous measurement. So these projects should also be critically evaluated. So what can be measured can be managed is the lesson learned here. So it's really important to critically evaluate these projects, and as you would be doing any other R&D project to make the next one better. So that's one of the lessons learned. And encourage values-based and multidisciplinary leadership. So that's another lesson learned. The leaders that are involved in this development really need to model these behaviors, as well as recognize expertise and skills within the company, and really seeking these skills for these projects. So that was very briefly from the case study. So I would encourage anybody who is interested to look at this case study for more details. So to summarize everything, I would say that development of entities follows similar principles. They are not exempt from the rigorous development that any drug has to go through, but the interplay of economic aspect lead to some distinctive features. Pharma partners need to be engaged and committed to the goal of improving global health. And as you can imagine, there were many challenges in this type of development, but yet a lot of progress has been made. 47 countries have eliminated at least one NTD by the end of 2022, and NTD programs performed better in the year 2022 than in 2021. And lastly, further progress must be kept on track by fostering innovative operations and sustainable financing. So that was my last slide, and Thank you for your attention. I would like to thank AISSMC for inviting me to the talk today, and all the attendees for today's talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. That was really, I mean, such we were not aware that such a kind of model is existing, and based on non-profit or non-commercial considerations. I would like to know then, when such a partnership is developed, who controls the entire, there has to be somebody who drives everything. So who controls all these operations or timelines?
So it's usually the PDP who is the in charge. They are the primary applicant for grants, and they are ultimately responsible. But it also depends. So on one of the projects that my company is involved in, we are the sponsor of the IND. So we are holding the marketing authorization ultimately when it comes to the market. But we have no interest in the commercial value of this therapy. So similarly, the product development partnerships like DNDi, when they are in control of the whole development, but they have no intention of making a profit on the therapy when it comes to market.
So it is the PDP who manufactures the marketable lot.
No, it will be the pharma partner who will be developing the manufacturing process and in control of the supply chain. It really depends on particular relationships. So, yeah.
Any such arrangement you are aware of present in India?
So DNDi is actually active in India as well. So and they do use Indian manufacturers, and I'm sure they are collaborating with Indian collaborators as well. So actually, one of the founders of MMV, of DNDi was an Indian governmental organization.
So yeah, so that was very good to know that such arrangements are there and people are working beyond their commercial interest.
Yes.
So thank you very much, sir. I would invite Megha Shah madam to take over for vote of thanks. Hello, Megha madam.
Yeah, I'm audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It is an honor to stand before you for this vote of thanks. Myself, Megha Shah, would like to thank you all the delegates. First and foremost, I would like to thank our Honorable Secretary, Mr. Maloji Raja Chhatrapati and other office bearer who has provided this opportunity and facility for this international FDP. Now, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our APTI President, Dr. Milind Dumekar, sir, Vice President of the Western Region, that is Sohan Chitlange, sir, Secretary, Dr. Raman Dang, sir, and their presence meant a lot to us. I would like to now extend my vote of thanks to all the speakers, Dr. Navnath Gawande, sir, Dr. K.S. Ladda, sir, Mr. Sagar Shukre, sir, and Dr. Vijay Gupte, sir, for enlightening us with your vast knowledge, skill, and experience. It has given a deep insight into the topics and also revealed some interesting facts. Now, I would like to thank you, our principal, Dr. Ashwini Madgulkar ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. It is a matter of honor for me. I would like to thank you all our FDP coordinator, Dr. Mrunalini Damle madam and Dr. Trupti Chitre ma'am, and all the teaching and non-teaching staff who help directly or indirectly. Last but not the least, on behalf of whole the AISSM COP team, I would like to thank you all the delegates who attended this international FDP. The feedback link that post in the chat box of Zoom link as well as YouTube live session. Share your valuable feedback with us. You will receive your certificate in next week, up to next week. So be patient. When you receive your certificate, you can leave the group, FDP group, and just drop the message that's received and you can leave the group. With the permission of Principal ma'am and Damle ma'am, here I declare the end of this our international EFDP. I request all the delegates to please switch on their cameras for a group photo. Request all the delegates to please switch on the cameras. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Vijay, for accepting the invitation. It was a wonderful session. I'm sure this was a new information to us that there is a development of a drug at USA also in a non-profit manner. So it is wonderful to know. I'm sure we will get back to you for more help in future as well. Thank you so much this time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Damle ma'am, can we end the meeting?
Yes, we will.